But thanks for being here. Have a good conversation this morning. We're continuing our series on poverty, reading along in Poverty by America by Matt Desmond. And the chapters really don't coincide with anything. They're their kind of own free-form kind of book chapter. So I just encourage you to read a chapter a week as we go along. And this week, you know, if you read the second chapter, the reasons why we're still in this mess. And he rehearses a number of parts about that are worth our conversation. But better than that conversation is we have Eddie Howard with us, Executive Director of Abundant Life Ministries. So I'd like to just start with a moment of silence and then prayer and then turn things over to Eddie. Let's keep silence and then we'll pray. Holy God, we give you thanks for your word that comes to us this day in grace and truth, in the broken bread and the outpoured cup, but it comes to us too in our lives of faith and service as we work to magnify your kingdom, to bring about justice and kindness in our world, and to make plain the places that are broken and hurting, that we might go there and bring grace and peace. We're grateful for Eddie and the ministry of Abundant Life and for our connection, and pray that you would be with him in this time. So keep us, hold us, and love us, and let us open our eyes and ears as we welcome Eddie Howard. Amen.
Amen. Good morning. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Jay, for inviting me to do this. Just kind of talk about the poverty and the way it impacted the community that Abundant Life represent. I want to say it is an honor to be able to come and just kind of talk about this subject, which is a hard subject a lot of times to talk about. And I do understand that. And I get a lot of questions about, poverty and what it looked like in the way of the community and Charlottesville as a whole. So I just want to, I know you all haven't gotten a lot of information about poverty and what it is, but I just want to refresh you a little bit. First, I'm not a statistician, so I just looked all this up, back referenced 3 or 4 times to make sure everything is lined up. So I want to lay that out there, because if you start asking me number, you're going to humble me real fast up here. So, but I do thank you for coming out. And so, I just named this Poverty in the Age of Prosperity. This picture that you see is a young man that we work with in the community, JD, who was our director of program. And my staff have a passion for what they do. I have a very young staff. My average staff age is about 27 years old. And so they're here to push through the future within this community. And I want to thank First Prayers for being a supporter of Abundant Life Ministry for many, many years. And as we continue this journey together, I'd like to think that Abundant Life is now part of you all's DNA, because you have been a supporter for so long. So United States, one of the richest countries in the world, yet 1 in 3 children live in relative poverty. 1 in 3 children in the United States, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. 1 of 3 children. That, when I was doing my research, just set me back. And I was like, wow. I see food get thrown away. You go to the different restaurants and stores and things, and you see them just throwing food in dumpster, maybe a day old, past their expiration date. Also, when comparing multi-dimension of child poverty, more American children experience deprivation than in any other high-income nation, both in absolute numbers and overall percentage. Higher than any other nation. And this is the country we live in. And as I was reading some of these things, it just talk about how poverty unconsciously, because of a system that's laid out. When we think about our welfare system and we think about all the things that go on in a lot of systems, when we think about our education system, when we think about our careers and jobs and trades and how that scale work, and it drive poor people to the most minimum paid job because they have to take them, they have to survive. And for me, that's just a setback for I say who we are as a culture, who we are as a society, that when we look around here in Charlottesville, we have these neighborhoods that live in poverty. And so what is poverty? Poverty is a multifaceted condition characterized by a severe lack of financial resource and access to basic necessities such as food, safe housing, clean water, education, health care. It extends beyond mere economic deprivation to encompass social and psychological dimensions, often resulting in limited opportunities, social exclusion, and diminished capacity to participate fully in society. Let me read that. And a diminished capacity to participate fully in society. I want to stop right there for a minute because I've lived there. I'm from the Prospect Avenue neighborhood. When I was younger, it was Oak Ridge Garden, and then it was Blue Ridge Common, and there's Greenstone on the 5th. So I understand how the thought process goes when you realize you cannot live your full ability or potential just because of the disparities when it comes to the low-income neighborhoods, and been there and have lived that track. And to be honest, in Charlottesville, when you look at the average income of $107,000 a year, most of our community don't make a third of that, our low-income community. And that's what it takes to not live in poverty in Charlottesville a year. And that number should scare all of us in a city so wealthy that we have the communities that we have. And the Prospect Avenue community is one of them communities. And so I'm gonna keep reading. Those in poverty experience a persistent cycle of hardship and struggle, impacting individuals, families, and communities across generations. So when I thought about poverty, I was like, that's no peace in this. So I wrote there, without shalom, those in poverty experience a persistent cycle of hardship and struggle. There's no peace in that. There's no shalom. When you go to bed at night and wondering if you're going to have a job in the morning, or you go to bed at night and knowing that your children are going to wake up to maybe a bowl of cereal, or you hope that when your children get to school that there's a breakfast or a snack or something nutritious for them to eat during the day. This is here in Charlottesville. So we're not talking about the nation as a whole. This is something that we experience as a ministry every day. When we have groups, we make sure we feed these children. Every group we have, when we have our enrichment program, we make sure they eat, because some of them come in the evening and have not eaten anything all day long. This is what's going on here right around us, right within our own borders, right within the city. Very wealthy city. So, that shalom is missing out of these underprivileged neighborhoods. Lack of holiness. Poverty extends beyond economic deprivation to encompass social, psychological dimensions, often resulting in limited opportunities. The biggest hiring institution in Central Virginia is UVA. They just started paying a few years ago $15, which they call a living wage, here in Charlottesville. We should challenge that. We should say, wait a minute, is there a living wage in Charlottesville, Virginia at $15 an hour? Are we fairly paying the people that do the work, that serve us, that care for us, that clean for us, that drive our transit buses? It's a lot to think about. Poverty is such a complex issue. There's no one thing that we can set our mind to and say, oh, if you did this right, this would happen. Oh, if you did that right, this would happen. It impacts us. So there is a lack of holiness where there is a struggle, where you have to wonder, where there's trauma. And you talk about health care and housing and all them different things. And I know we have presenters coming to talk about that. Shortage of understanding. Brian Stevenson's quote, "My work with the poor and incarcerated has persuaded me that the opposite of poverty is not wealth. Let me say that again. Brian Stevens, his work have persuaded him that the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice. Justice. What is justice? Among the downtrodden. What is justice among the poor? What is justice among those that experience a hardship every day? Every day. I want us to think about that. Any questions as we go, please raise your hand and we will recognize you. Poverty, national statistics. Again, I'm sure you all been doing this series. You got a lot of numbers. I looked some of this up. The annual report on philanthropy for the year 2023 report that individual bequests, foundations, and corporations gave an estimated $557.16 billion to U.S. charities in 2023. Total giving grew 1.9% in current dollars, reaching a new high by that measure. Now that's a new high. That's encouraging. That's encouraging until you get to the next line. Growth in total giving did not outpace the higher than average 4.1% inflation rate. Adjusted for inflation, giving declined by 2.1%. Adjusted for inflation, giving declined by 2.1%. And this came out in January of this year. Of all nonprofit giving, less than 3% goes to the grassroots community-based organization like Abundant Life Ministries. Yes, sir.
The federal government establishes a level of poverty. I don't know, it's like 25,000 for an individual. Using your example of $15, if you do the calculation, that's $30,000 a year. That would set that person above their established poverty level. It doesn't mean that they're doing well, obviously, by any means.
Actually, it don't.
Maybe need to raise that level of poverty level.
Actually, the low poverty level is 59,000 a year. To get above poverty level, you have to make in Charlottesville $59,000 a year.
Is that a family of four?
That's a family of four. Yes.
Okay, well, divide it by 4 then. That's like 20,000 an individual.
Right. So let's talk about rent. Let's average it at $1,200 a year by 12 months. You made $30,000 this year. Where that leave you for food? Where that leave you for your electricity? Where that leave you for your health care? Where that leave you for your education? These are things, that's why I say it's so complex. There's no one answer. But we can do something about it. We can help moving the poverty level and decreasing it. We have the power to do that. God gave us the power and the opportunity to do that. So you're right, when you're just looking at it one way, it's just, it's mind-boggling, to be honest with you. So Prospect Avenue, Greenstone on the 5th, Bailey Road, Rock Creek Road, Orangedale Avenue is located within Fifeville, one of the 5 low-income communities in Charlottesville, and this was by the Census Bureau. That's how these 5 underprivileged community was designated as low income according to the census, right here in Charlottesville, Virginia. 5. One of the wealthiest counties in the nation.
The book says that the majority of wage travel is $7. So I'm from South Carolina.
Say that again, ma'am.
The book says that it's a large portion of the wage per hour was still $7 and something.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, 32 hours.
Yeah.
When you work 32 hours.
Yeah.
Someplace without benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say South Carolina. South Carolina is one of the poorest states in the nation.
I thought
So when you look at, and I say UVA paying $15, but when you look at this $7 an hour, or you look at less than that, when you really think about, let's say a family of 3, mom, dad, and the child. And between mom and dad, they may be making $50,000 a year. Listen, my wife and I worked for 8, 9, 10 years, and both of us together barely made over $50,000. And you heard the term pinching pennies? Yeah, we would rub and try to turn them to dimes. Yes, sir.
What do the statistics tell us? How many living in poverty in the state of Virginia, and then more particularly, how many living in the state of poverty in Charlottesville out of the state of Virginia? Do you have those numbers?
I do not have the numbers for the state of Virginia or for Charlottesville as a whole. I did look them up, and I was going to put them in this, but what I was trying to do with this is focus on the community that Abundant Life is in, and just try to bring this to a place whereas, I can say to you all, here's how we can make a difference here, So, and that's one of the things, you get a lot of broad numbers. And when you get them, you have to figure out yourself, like you talked about South Carolina. When you add South Carolina into the rest of the nation, you add South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, you start putting these numbers together, and you may say, oh, it looked terrible, or oh, it don't look too bad. But it might not look too bad as a whole, but when you go to South Carolina, you're going, wait a minute, where did these numbers come from? So, just trying to focus on the community that we in and really bring attention to the fact that we work with families every day. Community we work in, over 400 families. And we work with families every day. And we're engaging right at about 150 families right now. And every family we engage with live in poverty. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Goes to grassroots,
Yes.
community-based organizations.
Yes.
I think fits well with Brian Stevenson's quote about the opposite of poverty isn't wealth.
That's right.
The opposite is justice.
That's right.
And so you, as a nonprofit,
Mhm.
where is the justice? How are you guys able to access that $500 million? And maybe should you have as much access in a wealthy community as communities in South? Money is there, right?
Yes.
So it's the justice of the, and I hesitate to use that word distribution, but no, it's fine. But I'm saying, like,
I hear you.
I think that's these slides have hit it on the nail, in terms of like the money is there.
Yes.
It's getting it to the people.
Absolutely.
And not having to go through a filter of
Absolutely.
other people to sit on it.
Yes. And another piece of that is it's not whereas the money is coming down to the single entity and they're distributing it out. What happens is, and we'll get to that, you have big organizations like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, different foundations out there that most people give their money to. Or you give it to a foundation and let the foundation distribute it for you. And we'll get to that shortly. But I do hear you. And so, again, it's so complex. Is how do the people that's in charge of it send it out? But also, who is it being sent out to? When you hear Abundant Life Ministry and you hear the Boys and Girls Club, most of the time, automatic, it's like Boys and Girls Club. If you hear Abundant Life Ministry and you hear YMCA, most of the time, automatically it's going to be YMCA. We're a small grassroots organization. And it is proven that if you turn your donations to these small grassroots organizations that's on the ground, making a difference, that's when change comes. Making a difference. Education is a sustainable way to fight poverty, build a better future. It can increase productivity, reduce fertility, and improve health. Education also gives people the skills needed to participate in society and the economy. Now, education, when COVID came, we have tutoring program, Johnson Elementary, Walker Upper Elementary, Buford Middle School, and tutoring / programs in our high school, one-on-one mentoring, 1 year post high school. Well, when COVID came, what happens to the kids that's already struggling? And not necessarily struggling because they're doing something wrong. Hunger, it shows you that food scarcity is a big problem when it comes to that learning experience. You can't function, you're hungry, your body is not producing what you need for that ability. So there again, you know, there's a way to make a difference. How do we educate? We just happen to have, well, we didn't happen, they had set up virtual learning in one of the churches here in Charlottesville, so we could like keep that cycle going during COVID. Batted fly, couldn't get real support for it, but we had to figure it out. And to be honest, Abundant Life came out of COVID in the red in a big way. And I came with 20, started January 4th, 2021, and we had to figure a budget. We had to say, we got to figure out how to get this budget up, or Abundant Life, when I came to Charlottesville, get our budget up, get our income up, or we was going to close down in about 6 months, coming out of COVID. You talk about how to get them funds, and that's the effect of them funds. If generous people didn't step up, and by the way, Abundant Life major donors is individuals, not the grants, not the foundation, not the charitable giving, but individuals. Those are our biggest source when it comes to income. You all are when it comes to income. And so we do have to figure it out if we're gonna make a difference. Jobs, we now have a V-Trades program. It's vocational trades, career, and we partner with other organizations. They do assessments for job resumes, teach you interview skills, and then try to place you. We're about to have a banquet / job fair on October the 25th. We've reached out to 3-year post-high school, all the kids that came through. It was 105 kids, right? About 105. By the way, that's Faith Kelly. She's marketing and communication for Abundant Life. Yeah, thank you for coming, Faith. And so you know, when we think about that, where are our youth at? Are we training them? Careers. Are we training them? Education. Abundant Life do the work. We have a young man that work with the government now that do the trauma care when they have the hotspots and shooting. He lead a whole team, came through Abundant Life. His name Richard Washington. You can look him up. We have another young man that is a coach over at one of the high schools for the JV, came through Abundant Life. With a couple of professional football players that came through Abundant Life. We have teachers that came through Abundant Life. We have business owners that came through Abundant Life. Except for last year, we had one kid that did not graduate. We had a 100% graduation success rate for a kid that started with us and leased our middle school program and followed us all the way through high school. 100%, we lost one kid last year. We've been doing this 28 years. That's why it's important to look at your grassroots organization that's right here in your city and say, wait a minute, I'm sending money out here. How do I can use my finances to make a difference here? And that's what it's all about. I worked for Abundant Life from 2000 2008, retired, I got burned out, moved to Chesapeake, my family, and then in 20 I got a call to come back. Listen, Abundant Life is part of my story. Abundant Life is why a piece of why I'm here today. I tell people 3 things. I ran into God, I ran into my wife, and I ran into Abundant Life. And that's my story today. in 1999. In 1996, I was facing life and 40 years in state penitentiary. I had a judge that go to this church, Jay Sweat. He gave me permission to call his name. And he gave me a break. And when I met up with him coming back, Jay, why do you do it? He said, I just felt like God told me you was the guy. And he said we give him a break and hoping that when we see him in the future, something will happen. Real good friend of mine now, love Jay. But Abundant Life, his break led me to Abundant Life. Fresh out of incarceration, love the Lord, trying to figure it out, no direction. Still got the old life here and trying to move into the new life right here. Young man from Abundant Life, I used to go down and clean up. Come on in. Won't you talk to these guys? That was part of my support system. So Abundant Life making a world of difference right here in your city, in that community. Healthcare. UVA Health, they come in first and third Tuesday of every month, do health stations. They give out fresh produce, healthy eating. Most of our low-income communities know nothing about healthy eating. UVA Health come in. They buy food from local farmers right here in Virginia, actually local black farmers. And they bring it in. They trying to support. And then we had a health, mobile health bus that come in the fourth Tuesday. The third Tuesday, that's why Faith is. The third Tuesday of every month. Just for those that need, medical care and can't afford it. And they do it by scholarships and all of that. Yes, we can make a difference, one little thing at a time. Food access. Part of this 501 church where they're trying to get a grocery store because that community is, considered a food desert. So there's many ways to change this. Now, you talk about how to allocate your funds. We're a 501c3 organization, tax deductible. We have these things called NAP grants, NAP credits, Neighborhood Assistance Program. 65% of your charitable donation, you can get a 65% state tax credit on them. So that's a way that you can give, but also it can benefit you. And if you call Miss Rebecca, who is, I call my genius, she's the one that, and by the way, Miss Rebecca been there since a year after ministry started. 28 years Abundant Life been in the neighborhood. 28 years God has sustained Abundant Life. 28 years through highs, through lows, through COVID. I just told you. But God showed up in people's hearts. God showed up and people stepped up. And that's what it's going to take every day. People stepping up. Jay, I must confess, I didn't read it A to Z. But the sections that I read were just so powerful and so impactful. And and the title is like, just hit me, Poverty by America. And I'm like, what is this guy Matthew Desmond talking about? Poverty by America. And didn't give it a lot of thought until I started going through this book. So again, food access. We Abundant Life 501(c)(3). We got NAP credits. Give us a call, come by, we can sit down and just show you how to work. You can look it up. Like I say, it's a 65% tax deduction on your eligible donations that you can take advantage of. And people do. Redesignate your foundation giving funds to Abundant Life or other local nonprofits. You kind of give to these foundations, they kind of distribute your money. Make it your business. Say, I want this to go to Abundant Life, or I want this to go over here, or I want this to go over there. That's part of why so little come into the grassroots organizations, because, when you give, they get the decision of where it's going to go, or they might break it up. And most of the time, it's the major nonprofits that get the money. Well, I gave you statistics. They get the cash. We have people step up and and support, you know, and not saying it's a bad thing. Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, other charitable foundations, other foundations out there, other nonprofits out there. And it's a host of them. Charlottesville alone got over 900 nonprofits. I'm still trying to figure that out. 900, like, in my mind I'm going, what do they do? We should be straight. But we're all struggling to make a difference because financially, we need the resources. So, you know, you can come in, you can volunteer. 1 hour a week. We got many programs. There's information on the table over there. 1 hour a week, tutoring, enrichment. You can cook, drop them off at the center for our programs. On our website, it'll tell you all our different programs, the hours. Most of the time is anywhere between 15 to 18 participants. Database support. We're always entering data because we're trying to get grants, you know. So you gotta have the data, you gotta have the numbers, you gotta have the metrics, you got to have that plan. And we're writing grants as best as we can. If you're a grant writer, come see us. Yeah. Because that's what we need. That's how you can help. So that's how you can make a difference. And now, Jay, we're gonna try to go to this. Uh-oh.
Did you break it?
Probably.
In the 1990s, like many inner-city communities and neighborhoods around the country, the Prospect Avenue community in Charlottesville, Virginia, was plagued and ravaged by the drug epidemic. Fortuitously, however, community members set about to effect radical positive change in the Prospect Avenue community.
In 1994, Trinity Presbyterian Church held a congregational meeting with the aim of establishing a Christian community development work with a neighborhood in the city, which was the Prospect Avenue community.
When I first started at Abundant Life, there were a lot of shootings in that neighborhood. I think it made a big difference to the neighborhood to have Abundant Life there.
Abundant Life got all of these people in our neighborhood that want to make a difference and see our neighborhood a better place.
I just think the relationships are what have really mattered. People have lived their lives together and opened their homes together. And I also think being geographically focused has been just such a blessing, because you're saying, we're here for this community.
What drew me into Abundant Life was the mentors and tutors that I had. They were people that emulated a lot of values and principles that resonated with me and drew me to Abundant Life.
I seen my face in these little kids that somebody took the time to help me out. And so that's what I wanted to give back. It's been amazing being involved and to see where they come from.
To me, Abundant Life is a necessity in low-income communities, a necessity into teaching kids and adults and how to be leaders and how to work together and how to grow as a community and how to become better as a community and how to grow with other communities and become better people.
This isn't just Monday or Tuesday, Monday through Friday. It's 28 years of Monday through Friday, 28 years of prayer, of intercession, of tutoring, of fostering relationships.
In my
my mind, Abundant Life's impact in the community is all about changing lives through its leadership development programs, through home ownership. That's amazing. You look at 100% graduation rates, and I just believe that they're continuing to build on the good work they've done for 20 plus years and increasing the impact they're having in that community.
I hope someday the legacy will be that there's a center on Prospect Avenue that has all kinds of activities and support programs to help families, again, in the name of the Lord, that will thrive and be there for years and years to come.
Abundant Life will always breathe life in my community. It will always be that candle up on the hill to say there's hope and there's a way out.
You lost it to death, crushed the devil's head. Fear is just a lie running out of breath. The fire beneath your feet, I'm standing on Jesus' name. So let the
That's who we are. Yes. Yeah. And that's powerful. Because when you come against poverty, that's what you're doing. You telling the enemy, you don't win this battle. We do. We're the light. We're the ones that's going to shine. And if you have any questions, Jay got the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say prevention versus intervention. And while you got questions, I want to put this slide up. My staff, you can kind of look at how we are really tapped out. We have to grow in space. We have to grow in staff. Every staff member is doing double and triple duties, 5 days a week, and sometimes Saturdays and Sundays because the families call on them. And so before you open this up, I want to give one testimony. Young man, Calvin Kellum, far left, tall guy, yuppie guy, look like he out of Boston, come in, do an interview, say 3 words the whole hour, nice resume. I say, Lord, he is not it. I've interviewed 3 other community members. I'm going, well, you know, I appreciate him coming in, and I'm praying, and I'm saying, okay, God, I need you to sort this out for me. And before Calvin get out the door, God said, you're going to hire him. Before he even get out the door. I'm like, you sure? God know what he's doing. A month in, one of the guys from the Buck Squad got shot up here, and 3 of his kids in that program, maybe 2 months in. And Faith and I in my office talking about what we're gonna do, how we're gonna help the family. And Faith like, oh, we can get flour. Like, no, we do not need flour. We need food. Get a call, the grandmother want to come down and talk. She come down, we pray. And I was like, you know, what is your need? She said, food. She said, I have another request. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, do you think Calvin can come and sit with our 3 kids while we go take care of business? Floor open for questions. That's who Abundant Life is.
So, yeah. So, you know, within this, of course, we're trying to give slices and windows into life in our city, our county, our community. And Abundant Life is one of the ministries that First Pres supports as a faith partner, a full partner in ministry, and has for some time. There'll be opportunities, we'll be a part of a big Christmas time, push way to you to get connected directly. That'll begin to roll around
First
right after.
October.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that'll be a part of a way that you can plug in and get introduced and involved. But there are many other things that you can do. But we wanted to highlight both the large and small organizations that are granular and are really using that phrase making a tremendous difference. And so out of that, we invited Eddie. We'll see Loaves and Fishes, a real granular food sourcing ministry and program here in just a couple of weeks as well. And we'll also hear from Habitat, one of the larger kind of entities in our community as well. But looking at that intersection of race and poverty and location, there are few examples in our city and county that give the same example as Abundant Life. So, and I encourage you to talk to Eddie, go see him, meet him. He's also a lot of fun to have coffee with, just to hear stories of witness about how God does intersect and intervene and push us all toward justice. So, David Maloney, I think you had your hand up first.
Yes, over the 28 years, you've clearly done an incredible service, offering services to Charlottesville, putting out fires, keeping, providing food and education, and building relationships. You talked about gathering metrics.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, over that 20-year period, do you see a certain percentage of the people that you serve escaping the cycle of poverty so that children's children are not stuck with the same problems? Do you ever see successes of people getting out? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Many successes. I named some earlier, but it just come to mind. Jay mentioned Habitat. 14 homeowners that come out of the Prospect Avenue neighborhood. We built a relationship with Habitat, built 14 homes. We're seeing community go into higher level jobs at UVA, teachers. I don't know, teachers, I don't know if they live out of poverty, to be honest with you. So yes, we do see tremendous success. And I didn't put the list on here. We'd be here about 2 hours. But and that's the thing, testimonies after testimonies after testimonies of Abundant Life moving into the hearts of people the way Christ have assigned us to. And that's what's important, that we're making sure we listen to the voice of the Lord as we walk beside these people. Because, listen, I was a tender soul trying to figure this out. And a lot of hurt and pain come out of conversations. So really being careful, the conversations that we're having. But yes, a lot of success stories, people moving out of poverty. But at the same time, we see a lot of generational poverty also. Great kids that we have right now that I knew their parents who came through the program. So both sides of that.
Yeah, there are all kinds of stories and stuff. I did want to speak to Thor's point, and I forgot to do this, so forgive me. But there's the Equity Center at UVA and the City County provides something called the Orange Dot Report, and it's a very comprehensive kind of profile of kind of the situation of many, many people here in our city and county. And you can just Google the Orange Dot Report and look for the latest iteration of that. I think there's a 22 report that's pretty comprehensive. Mm-hmm. It's not for the faint of heart. It's about 30 pages. But if you're looking for the answer, the detailed answer and the stats behind the question and into the answers, I recommend the Orange Dot Report. Yes, we have a question.
On slide 4, it mentions education reduces fertility. I'm wondering, what is that in reference to?
Well, when you have the knowledge to make choices, you make healthy choices, special relational choices. And let me say this, that what we find in our community, especially young mothers, they have children, and then the welfare system kick in. And then the mindset go, oh, if I have another child, I can get some money. Listen, that's just the nature of the beast in the neighborhood that I was raised up in and seeing it every day. So yeah, when you're educated, especially in the healthcare side of things, you'll understand that. Especially, and then that spiritual component that Abundant Life brings to everything they do. And we do Bible study with every group. understanding who you are in Christ. So education is not just the academic side of things, but it's also the spiritual side of things. And so that gives you awareness of who you are. A lot of times, I mean, for 45 years, I grew up in a neighborhood, I didn't really know who I was. In my mind, I was just this guy that wasn't no good, never been no good, never gonna be